The Pokemon anime has been going on for almost 25 years with over 1,000 episodes, 23 movies, a bunch of shorts and specials, and a few spin-offs. And included in all that content are quite a few really sad moments that seem to come out of nowhere. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and today we're ranking all the sad Pokemon anime moments from sad to most heartbreaking. But before we begin, if you're a fan of anime, please do us a huge favor and subscribe to our new anime channel, Otaku Binge. We get a ton of requests to cover anime shows, so we decided to start a dedicated channel. We'll be featuring a ton of your favorite anime in all of our usual formats: good to evil, weak to powerful, gruesome to most gruesome, and more. After this video, you can actually go check out our Pokemon anime villains, evil to most evil video on Otaku Binge. It's live now and we've linked it in the description. So if you love our Wicked Binge formats and anime, make sure you go subscribe to the new channel. With that said, let's get started with Pokemon's saddest moments. This list will be divided up into 3 categories. Our first category includes those scenes that would maybe cause some to shed a couple tears, but were for the most part passed over after the first viewing. This is simply the sad but forgotten. We start off with a lesser-known episode in which Ninetales waits for its trainer. The episode, Just Waiting on a Friend, sees Ash and company coming across a mansion that is occupied by a woman named Lococo and a Ninetales. She explains that she was the servant of the Ninetales trainer, whom they have been waiting for to come back. In typical Brock fashion, he falls head over heels for her, but surprisingly, she returns his affections and asks him to stay with her. Ash and Misty become suspicious after Brock falls through Lococo's body, when he attempts to hug her, and when her reflection isn't seen in the mirror. In another room, not only do they find Ninetales' Pokeball, but also a portrait of its trainer who looks exactly like Brock, along with his diary, in which he describes his upcoming journey, an entry that was written 200 years ago. It's eventually revealed that Ninetales waited for its trainer for that many years, even though he told it he'd only be gone for a month. It also couldn't leave the mansion because its Pokeball had some sort of power trapping it in. Since Brock looked like its old trainer, Ninetales wanted to lure him in as its new trainer. Eventually, the Pokeball is shattered and Ninetales is allowed to roam free. Ninetales wasn't abandoned on purpose, and the fact it had to wait for 200 years to have any closure just makes it all the more sad. However, it is placed here because, as stated before, this is easily the least remembered scene on the list. Next up, we have Mewtwo's origins. As we all probably know, Mewtwo was created as a clone of the mythical Pokemon Mew. As shown in the uncut prologue of Mewtwo Strikes Back, Dr. Fuji also intends to bring back his deceased daughter named Amber. During the cloning process, Mewtwo meets Amber too, and she explains to it they are both clones. Along with clones of a Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle, Amber 2 shows Mewtwo a memory from her life, as well as all the elements that made up the world. With Mewtwo being the only successful clone, the others eventually fade away, and Mewtwo shares a tearful goodbye with Amber 2, who says everything will be alright and that it will enjoy life. Having to say goodbye with your only friend before your life of misery is even about to begin is heartbreaking, especially when the scientists give Mewtwo a memory-wiping serum, leaving it with only a few memories of Amber 2. Unfortunately, some might have never seen this scene altogether, as it has only ever been a bonus feature on the DVDs. Next is Piplup's breakdown before Ash, Dawn, and Brock's eventual goodbyes. Specifically, when Piplup comes to the realization that they won't be traveling together much longer. In Memories Are Made of Bliss, after overhearing Dawn saying that she won't be going to Kanto with Ash and Brock, Piplup runs off in both anger and sadness. Once it's found, Piplup breaks down in tears once it's embraced by Togekiss, and has one last hug with Pikachu, during which both cry. When someone is about to leave to someplace far away after knowing them for so long, it can be tough to take in, making the scene very relatable. It's unfortunate that Team Rocket breaks up this beautiful moment. Next is Jirachi's goodbye. In Jirachi Wishmaker, Max bonds with the titular Pokemon who comes awake for 7 days during the events of the movie. By the end, it has to go back to sleep, resulting in a tearful goodbye with Ash and friends, Max especially. The bond that Max and Jirachi shared makes this goodbye even harder to take in. In a similar vein, Manaphy's goodbye is next. While Max and Jirachi bond in the former entry, May and Manaphy bond in Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea. Just as Manaphy is about to swim off, it shares one last hug with May. What makes this sadder than Jirachi's goodbye is that while Max and Jirachi were more like close friends, May had a maternal bond with Manaphy. This is cemented by Manaphy referring to May as Mama, and hearing the two exchange "I love yous" is bound to make some people tear up. Latias' sacrifice is next. After defeating Team Rocket members Annie and Oakley in Pokemon Heroes, a tsunami is about to reach the city of Altumare. Latias and Latia stop the tsunami, but Latias has lost all of its strength and sacrifices itself to save the city from further destruction. While it is sad to see the Eon siblings say goodbye to each other, at least we can rest easy knowing the city will be okay. Rounding out this category is the scene where Ash, Misty, and Brock part ways. In the episode Gotta Catch You Later, the three head back to Kanto after Ash finishes the Silver Conference. Ash has to go back to Pallet Town, Misty has to go look over the Cerulean Gym, and Brock has to go back to Pewter City. As the three head toward an intersection, Misty tells Ash to take care of himself, tells Brock not to fall in love with all the girls, and recollects her travels with them. When their paths finally do split, Brock gives Ash a picnic and utensils, and Misty gives him a handkerchief to keep it warm. Ash begins to cry, touched by the kind gesture, and tears up once more as he runs back to Pallet Town, separated from his companions. What makes this scene sad is that this is the original trio we've gotten to know since the very beginning of the series, and seeing them say goodbye is hard to take in, knowing it won't be the same without their dynamic. And while Ash does meet up with Brock again, we only get to see Misty once in a blue moon. Our next category includes scenes that are very sad and not often talked about, but if you were to bring those up to someone, they will likely say, "Oh, that scene." This is our tearjerker category. First up, we have the scene where Jessie releases Dustox. In Crossing Paths, Jessie's Dustox flies off to a lake where it meets a second shiny Dustox, and the two appear to have fallen in love. The second Dustox's trainer tells Jessie that when there is a full moon, Dustox pair up and fly over Mount Coronet, and says he will see her that night. Jessie also remembers that when she was a kid, she had a crush on a boy that looked almost exactly like the trainer. He suggests to Jessie that she come with him after leaving to become a Pokemon coordinator. She declines, and coming back to present day, wonders what would have happened if she did go with him that day. After some setbacks, it is time for Dustox to fly off. Jessie tells her Dustox to go, but it comes back. Not wanting Dustox to make the same mistake she made all those years ago, she crushes its Pokeball, making sure Dustox flies off with its new mate, causing her to cry. Crushing a Pokemon's Pokeball to make sure it leaves is really sad, but it's also bittersweet to see Dustox go on a journey with its true love that Jessie never got to experience. Though as Pokemon releases go, this one falls short on the remembrance factor, especially since Dustox isn't the most memorable of Team Rocket's Pokemon. Next up, we have Misty parting ways with Togetic. In The Princess and the Togepi, Misty meets back up with Ash, Brock, May, and Max as she was invited to the Mirage Kingdom for a Togepi trainer convention. However, a man named Colonel Hansen snatches Togepi from Misty with the help of Team Rocket. After Togepi falls from Hansen's blimp, it is discovered by Sarah, the princess of the Mirage Kingdom, thinking it will be used for her succession ceremony, as Togepi are used for just that. In the episode's second part, A Togepi Mirage, Hansen uses Misty's Togepi to help declare himself king, which a priest later does. A bunch of other Togepi send a blue light to Misty's, which makes it evolve into Togetic. Becoming a guardian of sorts to the Togepi, Togetic decides to stay in the kingdom and shares one last tearful goodbye with Misty. Togepi was a staple of Misty's team for most of the series, so seeing it go in its evolved form is definitely sad. But at least it has a huge role to play in the Mirage Kingdom. Maybe if Misty and Togepi were in a few more episodes before this one, the impact would have been bigger. Chimchar's abandonment is next. The Hearthome City tag battle competition continues in the episode Glory Blaze, where Ash and Paul team up for the last battle of the day. Chimchar is treated horribly by Paul, as evidenced by him not fully recovering it and being elated when one of the opponent's Pokemon is a Zangoose. Chimchar is mentally scarred after being chased and attacked by some Zangoose before being captured, which explains the reasoning behind Paul's elation. Throughout the battle, Paul deliberately lets Chimchar get attacked, and even has it attack Ash's Turtwig so it wouldn't get in the way of trying to help, as further being damaged would activate its Blaze ability. Upon taking a Fire Blast from Zangoose to save Turtwig, Paul turns his back, having Ash command Chimchar to use Flamethrower on the opposing Metagross. After the battle, Paul releases Chimchar since it didn't meet his standards. As a heartbroken Chimchar turns to leave, Ash invites it to join his team, and accepts after destroying Team Rocket's balloon at the beginning of the next episode. Seeing Chimchar get badly beaten due to Paul's negligence, only for him to abandon it afterwards, really breaks our heart. But seeing Ash take the little guy in made us breathe a sigh of relief. Moving on, we have Ash leaving Charizard. In Charizard's burning ambitions, Ash and company come across a young woman named Liza who has a Charizard of her own named Charla. Liza is the protector of Charicific Valley, a place where wild Charizard battle each other to become stronger. Also wanting to become stronger, Ash's Charizard battles a couple of the wild ones, just to be defeated by both. Eventually, Liza kicks the group out, only allowing Ash's Charizard to come back in when it can prove itself as strong enough. The next morning, Team Rocket rolls in with a mecha in front of the valley's gates, just for Charizard to destroy it. Seeing this, Liza says that Charizard can finally come in. Ash is distraught by this, saying it's better there and wouldn't want a weak Charizard anyway. While this is a harsh statement, Ash clearly knows what's best for Charizard, and we're left with a bittersweet moment when Ash runs off with tears in his eye. Charizard is one of Ash's best and most iconic Pokemon, but at least we eventually see it return. This is another case of a well-known yet overshadowed scene. Next, we have Ash and company nearly dying. In Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, the Tree of Beginnings is littered with antibodies to get rid of likely intruders, which include Ash and friends as well as Team Rocket. Everybody becomes enveloped by the antibodies one by one. First Team Rocket, then May, Max and Brock, and finally Ash and Pokemon Ranger Kid. Before being sucked in and disappearing, each of our heroes releases their Pokemon, telling them to save themselves. It's particularly hard watching Ash's Pokemon as they try to pull him out while Lucario is in Registeel's grip. Seeing them cry makes it even harder to watch, but thanks to Mew, everybody comes back safe and sound. This scene is underrated, very sad, and not many people seem to go back to it. Celebi's near death is next. After breaking from the Iron Masked Marauder's control and Celebi, voice of the forest, Celebi loses all its energy and withers in Ash's arms. The water is too polluted for it to heal Celebi, and even after Suicune purifies it, Celebi still won't come to. Ash then tries to feed it berries, which also doesn't work. Eventually, an entire group of Celebi appear and heal it back to normal. Not only was this the work of a poacher, but seeing a Pokemon shrivel up and nearly die is really tough to watch. And being one of the earlier Pokemon movies, many seem to remember it. And if anything, this scene does a far better job at convincing people not to ruin the environment than any preachy PSA would. Jessie's backstory is up next. In Snow Way Out, everybody gets caught in a snowstorm up a snowy mountain, including Team Rocket. This brings back memories for Jessie when she was a kid, as her family was so poor they would often resort to eating entire meals made from snow. This turns out to be one of Jessie's only happy memories growing up, and while she keeps a mostly positive attitude when reminiscing, you can just tell she is really hurting inside. While some may not equate this one with sadness because of how Jessie is feeling, we still had to include it on the list. From one Team Rocket member to another, James' backstory is next. In Holy Matrimony, it is revealed that James grew up in a rich, lavish lifestyle. However, he was arranged to be married to a rich girl named Jezebel once they became adults. While James just wanted to be a regular kid, she kept bossing him around and trying to teach him the proper way to do things. Not wanting to stand the lifestyle anymore, he ran away from home, leaving behind his only childhood friend, the family's pet Growlithe named Growly. Running away from home is one thing, but leaving a pet you consider a best friend is even more sad if you ask us. Moving on to the third Team Rocket member, up next is Meowth's backstory. In the episode Go West, Young Meowth, Meowth recounts his past in Hollywood as everyone is about to attend a movie premiere. When he was young, he was hung from a tree at a camp after knocking over a basket of baseballs, thinking they were food. When he witnessed the camp members watching a movie about a Meowth, he decided to move to Hollywood after seeing all the food on screen. When there, he got accepted into a group of Meowth led by a Persian, and together they constantly stole food from a chef so they wouldn't go hungry. One day, he spotted a female Meowth named Meowsy and instantly fell in love, but was rejected because she said he would never win her over with her life in luxury, the complete opposite of Meowth's. Slowly but surely, Meowth learned how to walk on his hind legs and speak human language by observing an etiquette class in a mansion. Thinking this would impress her, Meowth came back just for her to call him a freak. This rejection eventually led him to join Team Rocket, and after reminiscing, he meets up with his old gang again, with Meowsy now with him. She explains that the city suffered a recession, forcing her trainer to abandon her, and she moved away and could no longer afford to keep her. Thinking Meowsy is too good for the now barren Hollywood, he is stopped by his old gang and battles his old leader. Unfortunately, Meowsy runs towards Persian, as she was grateful for taking her in, rejecting Meowth for the third time. You can't help but feel sorry for poor Meowth, who seemingly learned to walk and talk like a human in vain, despite his hard work and dedication. At least he has a more meaningful life being with Team Rocket, for better or worse. Releasing Lapras is next. Ash's Lapras was a vital asset to his team when traveling through the Orange Islands. Being surrounded by water most of the time, Lapras served as a perfect boat for Ash and friends during their travels, which made it all the more difficult to see them part ways in the episode Viva Las Lapras. Right after Ash wins the Orange League, the group encounters a family of Lapras, possibly being the group that Ashes belonged to before it was rescued. As these Lapras are afraid of people, it turns out they were victims of Pokemon poaching. A group of pirates and their Tentacruel attack the Lapras family, and with the help of Ash and company, they're defeated. With tears streaming down Lapras's eyes, it and Ash say goodbye as it goes back to its family. While not as sad as other Pokemon goodbyes, as we'll see later, it still is quite impactful. Rounding out this category, we have Jessie and James releasing Arbok and Weezing. In the episode A Poached Ego, Team Rocket comes across a Pokemon poacher by the name of Rico, whose mission is to capture Poison-type Pokemon with a bonus for every evolved one. Having a bunch of Ekans and Koffing captured, they decide to follow Rico considering how attached they are to Arbok and Weezing. Meowth successfully breaks open the cages, releasing the Ekans and Koffing. With not much left to do after Rico sends out his Tyranitar, Jessie and James order Arbok and Weezing to escape into the forest with the group of their pre-evolved forms. The two watch in horror as the Rocket Trio buy time for them to leave, eventually tearfully going into the forest with the Ekans and Koffing. Since Jessie and James had these two for a long time even before they evolved, it's hard to watch them cry as they watch their trainers get beat up. Despite being villains, it's sad when Team Rocket goes through some rough times too, and it's likely for this reason why so many people tend to remember it. The third and final category are those iconic sad scenes that they've stayed with us for a long time and have become iconic. This is the unforgettable onion cutters category. Starting off this section is the scene where Ash's Pokemon keep him warm. Later on, in Snow Way Out, the snowstorm turns into a massive blizzard. Ash, separated from Misty and Brock, digs a snow cave to keep him and Pikachu warm with the help of Charmander, while Squirtle and Bulbasaur help seal it off with snow. Charmander's tail flame later weakens from keeping everyone warm, which causes Ash to tell it to go back into its Pokeball. It refuses, but Ash calls it back anyway, along with Squirtle and Bulbasaur, thinking their Pokeballs will keep them warm. He even attempts to get Pikachu to go in its Pokeball, but instead huddles together with Ash for warmth. The two get colder as time passes, and hoping his other Pokemon are warm enough, takes off his jacket and wraps his Pokeballs in it. Afterwards, the blizzard gets so bad that it causes the snow wall to break, with Ash sitting in front of the hole while ordering Pikachu to go in its Pokeball. All of Ash's other Pokemon then come out and hold on to him, keeping each other warm. It's a beautiful scene that we can't help but tear up at, and we think it will be remembered for a long time. We can't forget Charmander's abandonment. In the episode Charmander, the Stray Pokemon, Ash, Misty, and Brock encounter a Charmander sitting on a rock. After failing to catch it, Pikachu tells Ash that it already belongs to another trainer. When it starts raining, Ash and company take refuge in a nearby Pokemon Center, where they see a smug trainer named Damien. Damien is seen bragging to some other kids that he left Charmander because he thought it was weak, and made it stop following him by saying he'll come back. With the likelihood of Charmander's tail flame going out and dying due to the heavy rain, Ash and the gang go out to find it. Not only is it keeping warm with a leaf, it's also being attacked by some Spearow. Keeping its tail flame warm, it's rushed to the Pokemon Center, where it makes a full recovery. However, it still remains loyal to Damien, so it goes back to the rock and Ash and company run after it. When Team Rocket comes to steal Pikachu, it drives them away. Damien comes back and is impressed, wanting Charmander to return to him, but it decides to go with Ash because of how Damien treated it. With Charmander clearly suffering in the cold, dark rain, we can't help but make comparisons to an abandoned pet. Turning on the waterworks for most of the audience. Pretty much everything about Molly Hale is next. This 5-year-old daughter of a Pokemon professor from Spell of the Unknown has one of the saddest stories in the entire anime. Her single father, Professor Hale, disappears into the unknown dimension while researching them, and their powers cause any of her wishes to come true. The Pokemon Entei is summoned to believe it is her new father, since it is her favorite Pokemon from a storybook she has, and it in turn hypnotizes Ash's mother into becoming her mother. Every time she falls asleep, she enters a dream world created by the unknown to become a Pokemon trainer to try and stop Ash and company from breaking up her new seemingly perfect life. And honestly, you can't blame her. Now that she has 2 parents, you don't want to see her go back to square one. But at the same time, Ash's mom is being held hostage. This is a massive moral dilemma that made a lot of Pokemon fans cry. And The Spell of the Unknown is often considered one of the best Pokemon movies for a reason. The fight between the Pokemon and their clones is next. In Mewtwo Strikes Back, Mewtwo creates clones out of all the trainer's Pokemon, and they soon fight with their original counterparts. With Ash looking down horrified, the fighting gets brutal, as the originals and their clones violently attack one another, not at all looking like real, genuine Pokemon battle. Seeing the Pokemon fall down in exhaustion and Pikachu's clone continuously slap the real one is rough to watch and is certainly enough to shed a tear or two. Everybody likely remembers this one because it's one of the most iconic scenes from the first Pokemon movie. This next entry takes us all the way back to the very first episode, with Ash and Pikachu's fight with a group of Spearow. This is an episode every Pokemon fan knows by heart. Ash doesn't wake up on time to get his first Pokemon, and once he gets to Professor Oak's lab, he only has a Pikachu that doesn't listen to Ash. And this leads up to the set of events in which their friendship blossomed. After Ash attempts to capture a few Pokemon to no avail, a wild Spearow attacks Pikachu, which is standing on a tree branch. While Pikachu does manage to shock it, it calls for its flock, which doesn't hesitate to attack both Pikachu and Ash. Pikachu becomes badly beaten, Ash does all he can to protect it and outrun the Spearow, even swimming in a large body of water and using Misty's bike to head to a nearby Pokemon Center. With the Spearow catching up and a thunderstorm brewing, the two fall off the bike, and Ash body blocks the Spearow from further hurting Pikachu. However, as the flock darts towards Ash, a lightning bolt comes down, giving Pikachu just enough energy to fire off a massive thunderbolt, defeating them all and leaving them passed out until morning. In its desperate time of need after being extremely weakened, it's incredibly sad to watch Ash desperately try to get Pikachu to go in its Pokeball, thinking that would be best for it, just for Pikachu to prove Ash wrong and show its massive power. Also, take our advice and don't let any coma theories influence those tears. Next up, we have Ash sacrificing himself to save Pikachu. The 20th movie, Pokemon I Choose You, is a retelling of the beginning of Ash and Pikachu's journey where things take a different turn than the original. Towards the movie's climax, the two are trapped on a cliffside as a massive attack from several Pokemon, under Marshadow's control, is about to be unleashed on them. Pikachu refuses to go into its Pokeball when Ash tells it to, where similar events play out from the original. Ash preparing to block the attack, and Pikachu about to fire an attack of its own, but this time is too weak to. and it falls to the ground. Ash is hit and falls to the ground next to Pikachu, and after asking it why it won't go into a Pokeball, it answers, "I always want to be with you," via telepathy. Sending it into its ball and clutching it tight to his chest, Ash takes another attack. His spirit slowly disappears as Pikachu comes out, and with its trainer gone, it releases a massive thunderbolt with tears in its eyes, disorienting everything near it. Thankfully, not long after, Ash comes back to life after escaping the spirit world. Sure, the part where Pikachu talks is considered to be one of the most controversial anime moments among fans, hence its unfortunate memorability, but no one can deny that this scene is heartbreaking. Now we have the scene with Cubone and Marowak in Pokemon Origins. Pokemon Origins is well known for staying truer to the original Pokemon Red and Blue video games while having a more mature tone than the main anime. In the second episode, Red comes to Lavender Town and visits the Pokemon House founded by Mr. Fuji. The house is a place where orphaned and abandoned Pokemon are taken in and cared for, including a baby Cubone, afraid of all people except for Mr. Fuji. A volunteer explains to Red that Team Rocket attempted to catch the Cubone and sell it for profit, just for its mother, Marowak, to sacrifice her life to save it. After finding out Team Rocket is taking over Pokemon Tower with Mr. Fuji inside, Red goes to investigate. It turns out there's a ghost at the top of the tower. With Blue there to help, he gets the Sylph Scope from Team Rocket and gives it to Red. When Red puts it on, it's revealed that the ghost is none other than the Marowak killed by Team Rocket. We start to think someone is cutting onions when Cubone comes in and hugs its mother's ghost in a tearful, brief, and bittersweet reunion. Marowak then moves on to the afterlife when she gets closure knowing her child is okay. This scene is the one scene from Pokemon Origins that will stay cemented in our minds. Coming in as the fourth saddest scene in the Pokemon anime, we have the episode Pikachu's Goodbye. Here, Ash, Brock, and Misty come across a group of wild Pikachu, with whom Ash's immediately forms a connection with, and bonding with a particular smaller Pikachu. Seeing as Pikachu so happy with the others, Ash decides that it should stay with its own kind. After an encounter with Team Rocket in a failed attempt to capture the Pikachu, he tells his own to stay behind and runs away crying. Ash eventually stops running, however, and Pikachu says goodbye to its new friends, jumping back into Ash's arms. Many were probably upset before the episode even started, with the title implying Pikachu would go away forever. The episode further tugs at our heartstrings when Ash runs away, saying goodbye to his starter Pokemon, with the montage and its accompanying song certainly not helping. Of course, with Pikachu being the series mascot and all, the writers would never keep Ash's beloved partner out of the show, leaving us with happy tears in the end. Perhaps the most iconic sad scene in the anime, the ending of Bye Bye Butterfree, is next. In this episode, Ash and company arrive at a place where trainers release their Butterfree so they can find a mate and cross the sea. Of course, Ash does the same. His Butterfree finds a particular pink one that it likes, and despite doing everything it can to impress it, it refuses its advances. True to form, Team Rocket comes and captures all the Butterfree except for Ash's. After finding them in an abandoned warehouse, Ash's Butterfree rescues the rest, with the pink one falling in love with it for its bravery. Once Team Rocket is defeated, it's time for the two Butterfree to leave. With a tearful goodbye, the two fly off into the sunset. This is particularly hard for Ash, as not only was this the first of several Pokemon he ever released, it was also the first he ever caught, raising it from a Caterpie. And while Ash is sad they have to part ways, he is also happy that Butterfree now has a mate it can start a new life with. This scene is really iconic, as stated before, and is absolutely worthy of the Bronze Medal of Sadness. But the Silver Medal of Sadness goes to when Ash was turned to stone. Attempting to stop the fight between Mew and Mewtwo in Mewtwo Strikes Back, their intense blasts of energy collide with Ash, turning him to stone. Everyone looks on in shock and horror as Pikachu tries to revive the petrified Ash with multiple thunderbolts, all to no avail. However, as Pikachu starts to cry, all the other Pokemon, both originals and clones, cry as well, causing some sort of magic to turn Ash back to normal. We know that this scene made almost everyone in the theater cry upon first watching it. Seeing our main hero almost die in a terrible manner is pretty dark for a kid's show. and we certainly don't blame anyone for shedding some tears. And finally, the gold medal of sadness goes to Stoutland's death. In the episode One Journey Ends, Another Begins, Ash comes across Malimali Island's resident scavenger, Litten, stealing food again. However, it turns out Litten isn't stealing food for itself, but for an elderly Stoutland who lives on a couch under a bridge. Stoutland appears to be Litten's mentor, trying to teach it Firefang despite barely being able to move. The next day, Stoutland is having trouble breathing and Ash takes it to the Pokemon Center, and it's obvious its days are numbered. Despite being left at the Pokemon Center that day, Stoutland has gone back to its couch by nightfall. Litten sleeps next to it later that night, having a dream about it disappearing. Then wakes up the next morning to find that Stoutland is gone. It looks everywhere for it, but is nowhere to be found. And by this point, it's obvious to us what happened to it. The atmosphere throughout most of the episode is bleak. The leaves falling off the tree one by one is obvious symbolism for Stoutland's time to go inching closer. And Litten crying out for it in the rain makes this episode tug at our heartstrings even more. Despite this episode being fairly new, an episode of the anime has never stayed with us this long since one like Bye Bye Butterfree. Almost anyone can relate to it, as Stoutland is based on a dog, and every pet owner knows the pain of losing a pet. Pets are often our best friends, and grieving often takes weeks, if not months. The relationship between Stoutland and Litten perfectly mirrors that of pet and owner. And with all that said, there is absolutely no competition for the gold medal of sadness. But what do you think? Which Pokemon anime moment is the saddest? And if you're hungry for more Pokemon content, make sure to check out Pokemon Anime Villains Evil to Most Evil over on our new anime channel, Otaku Binge. We'll be covering tons of your favorite anime over on that channel, in all of our usual Wicked Binge formats. From evil to most evil, to gruesome to most gruesome, to weak to powerful. So do us a huge favor and subscribe. But most importantly, stay wicked.